There is a timeless principle that exists within every successful organization, one that separates genuine leadership from simple management. It is the principle of complete and unwavering accountability. Whenever a group of people, whether in business, society, or professional sports, commits to working toward a shared objective, the person in charge accepts a unique responsibility. A leader becomes the first line of protection for the entire system. When things go well, the credit is shared with everyone involved. But when things fall apart, when mistakes pile up and the structure begins to break under pressure, the leader is expected to step forward and accept responsibility. That expectation is both practical and ethical. But what happens when that responsibility is avoided? What happens when a head coach shifts attention away from veteran mistakes and instead places scrutiny on a young player already carrying enormous expectations? Today, we take a closer look at one of the most confusing, controversial, and heavily debated post-game press conferences of the season. We are examining the aftermath of the Indiana Fever's tough loss to the New York Liberty. But this goes beyond the final score. We are focusing on the moment head coach Stephanie White appeared to place responsibility on Caitlin Clark for the offense breaking down, while drawing far less attention to the isolation-heavy decisions that repeatedly stalled momentum. If you want to understand the mindset of a struggling locker room, the first place to look is not the players. It is the message being delivered from the top. After a loss in which the offensive structure unraveled during the fourth quarter, reporters naturally asked questions about execution and decision-making. The response from the coaching staff was not viewed by everyone as an example of accountability. Instead, many saw it as an attempt to redirect attention away from the larger issues.
Man, Stephanie White, the bonehead, has no idea where to turn, y'all. This lady's punch drunk out there. She's like punch drunk. She don't know what's going on. She don't know what to do. Check this out.
Steph, I see you circling stuff. I'm guessing the free throws are probably something to circle. Just talk about the game and how that might have difference. You held them to 30% shooting and I think 11% from three, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 20.
When a coach steps in front of the media and subtly shifts attention toward the decisions of a rookie point guard, they risk changing the perception of what actually happened on the court. Placing the blame for the loss to the New York Liberty on Caitlin Clark overlooks the larger tactical and statistical picture of the game. Clark remains the offensive catalyst, constantly trying to create opportunities within a system that often struggles to maintain proper spacing and flow. Yet the most debated aspect of Stephanie White's post-game comments was not simply the criticism directed toward Clark. It was the lack of discussion surrounding the player many believe disrupted the offensive rhythm. That brings the focus to Kelsey Mitchell and the responsibilities that come with team basketball. Mitchell is an exceptional athlete with explosive speed, dynamic shot-making ability, and a constant attacking mindset. However, isolation scoring comes with consequences. When a player chooses to bypass a designed action, move away from the intended structure, and attack a set defense one-on-one, it can affect the rhythm of the entire offense. When Mitchell waves off movement, ignores screening options, and repeatedly turns possessions into individual battles against New York's defense, critics argue that it disrupts the collective approach the team is trying to establish.
Dribbling the ball 97.5 times before she shoots. That's a momentum killer. Kelsey Mitchell refusing to pass the goddamn ball. That's a momentum killer. Aaliyah Boston, $6 million, can't make a layup. That's a momentum killer. You not calling a single play all game for Caitlin Clark. That's a momentum killer. What we talking about? What we talking about?
Stops and we turn it over in a timely manner. And look, their length causes challenges. I mean, we couldn't get C loose very much at all, and we got to do a better job of finding ways to do that.
When you watch the footage closely, what stands out is a complete collapse of team structure. The point guard, whose primary responsibility is to read defenses and create the best available opportunities, is often left with little control over the possession. Instead of directing the offense, she becomes a bystander. Yet during the post-game discussion, there was very little focus on shot selection or the isolation possessions that repeatedly stalled momentum and allowed the Liberty defense to reset. Instead, attention shifted toward the rookie guard, despite long stretches where she had limited involvement in the offense during crucial moments. That disconnect raises important questions about the evaluation of the game. How can a coach demand better decision-making and offensive organization from a point guard who is frequently removed from the action? It becomes difficult to place responsibility on the playmaker when the overall structure prevents her from consistently influencing possessions. Looking deeper into the tactical side of the game only adds to the debate. When Caitlin Clark does initiate the offense, the execution around her often appears inconsistent. Film review of the pick-and-roll actions reveals recurring issues. Screens frequently arrive late, angles fail to create real advantages, and the rolling player rarely forces enough defensive attention to open up quality opportunities.
Monique Billings was balling today. Caitlin Clark didn't have the ball in her hands to get Monique Billings shots because Kelsey Mitchell was busy out there jacking up shots nonstop. Why are you not addressing Kelsey Mitchell? Why are you not addressing Kelsey Mitchell? You keep talking about we. Ain't no we. It was one person out there being a damn ball hog. And you talking about, oh, we got to find a way to free up Caitlin Clark. So your idea of freeing up Caitlin Clark is taking her off ball and running her around, which means
a screen represents more than just a basketball action. It is a teammate carrying out a responsibility that helps create opportunities for the ball handler. When that responsibility is not executed properly, the offense becomes far easier to defend and the player with the ball is left with limited options. Because of that, many observers find it difficult to place the majority of the blame on the point guard when the larger structure around her is struggling to function efficiently. Looking at the offensive breakdowns and then concluding that the primary issue lies with the player trying to organize the attack raises serious questions about accountability and system execution. The impact of that environment on a young player should not be underestimated. Caitlin Clark is widely recognized for her understanding of spacing, timing, and offensive decision-making. She often identifies the right passing lane, the right angle to attack, and the right tempo to create advantages. Yet she finds herself in a difficult position. She carries the responsibility of being the team's lead playmaker, but does not always have complete control over how possessions unfold. At times she must defer to veteran scorers and allow the offense to flow through isolation opportunities. When those possessions struggle against elite defenses such as New York's, the criticism often circles back to the point guard, leaving her under scrutiny despite the broader issues affecting the offense as a whole.
But some of them, it's just our team defensive positioning has to be better, and that can take some pressure off of see if we're in the right spots.
Monique, obviously, 9 minutes, 15 points, and felt like much of the game you were kind of dictating inside. Can you just kind of take me through what was working for you tonight?
This team is a joke, man. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. This team is a joke. They have no idea what they're doing. I mean, it's a travesty.
I got to the cuts, got to the first half especially.
This type of situation is difficult to maintain over the long term. Team chemistry depends on trust, communication, and a shared understanding of responsibilities. When players feel that accountability is applied unevenly, uncertainty can begin to develop throughout the roster. Those who rely on structure and organized execution, including players such as Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull, can find themselves caught between competing styles of play, unsure whether to fully commit to the offense being initiated or simply adjust around isolation possessions. The New York Liberty's victory was not solely the result of superior talent. They succeeded because they consistently functioned as a connected group that trusted both their system and one another. Players like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu operate within a framework that emphasizes teamwork, ball movement, and collective execution. Indiana, on the other hand, struggled with offensive consistency and discipline during key moments of the game. As those issues grew, questions about accountability and leadership naturally followed. In the eyes of many observers, the combination of offensive breakdowns and ongoing concerns about team structure played a major role in shaping the outcome.
The most active on the glass for us. Her cutting was really good. A couple of those opportunities, I felt like she was able to get going to the rim because she got out of screens quickly or because off the ball she recognized open areas, got to the cuts. She was solid for us on the defensive end of the floor, and her activity was very good. We talked about it pregame. It's going to be finding her way. She's asked to play a different role than she played, a year ago and 2 seasons ago, and most been a bit like a community.
Many believe the organization eventually has to address these concerns directly. If a franchise views a young star as a foundational piece of its future, maintaining that players' confidence and development becomes a priority. The debate surrounding the Fever centers on whether the current system is maximizing the strengths of its most important players while also demanding accountability from everyone on the roster. Stephanie White faces a difficult challenge moving forward. She must either reinforce a clear offensive identity, ensure the ball moves through the team's primary playmakers, and apply the same standards to every player, or find a different approach that creates greater consistency. Successful teams rarely thrive in the middle ground. They are built on clear roles, shared responsibility, and a commitment to collective execution over individual preferences. That is why this discussion extends beyond a single loss. It raises larger questions about leadership, team structure, and long-term direction. Looking beyond the headlines and post-game comments, the focus remains on what the film actually reveals. The tape provides a deeper look into the strengths, weaknesses, and decisions that shape outcomes. As the season continues, those underlying details may prove far more important than any single result or public narrative.